Another dark log from the diary of a griever named John Weaver. Which is me. Yeah, I'm not alive and not awake yet. It's about 4:32 in the morning, Saturday, 24th of January, 2026. Yeah, off and on sleep again, so yeah, I'm the zombie today. Instead of going over the Trump crap and everything else, the world hates him like crazy. If you happen to watch any reviews on YouTube, and I'm not talking about just political reviews or everybody else's stuff. No, I'm talking about if you just wanted to get off beat and off track. Be careful of the places that you travel on regarding YouTube and its offerings, because they are screwed up. Case in point, you got these retro channels out there, both cartoon and television show and television movies. That's one thing if I happen to see some of them who might get the information right. But others are trying to regurgitate the same stuff as the other guy has done. So several channels, whoever's owning or running these things, are doing the political head play using AI voice and narrative that just doesn't get it. There were television shows out there that our generations had grown up under. You know, the greatest generation who grew up into the world of television, escaping reality that they already lived through. And yeah, there may have been some political points in some of those shows, but it was all escapism from the horrors that they've already faced. World War II. You had the Korean War and showing war itself. We had already seen war on television, on the big movie screens, what was going on, edited, but telling the public what was going on. And then television came out and showed exactly what was going on. But sci-fi writers during those days were coming up with more inventive stuff. We already lived through the classic monster Gothic ages of the late 1800s. Translated into mechanisms for the 20s, 30s, 40s. We had the serials coming out there of Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers and Space Patrol. And we still used whatever political themes we had. But we weren't shoving it down people's throats, were we? And I remember growing up in the 60s, because I was born in the 60s, I was seeing reruns of Twilight Zone and The Outer Limits. But I was also seeing some of the stuff that they came out with, which was pretty cool. Now, one of the channels that they were talking about, and one thing that they didn't touch, shows that you forgot about. No, they didn't. Because whoever did these AI bullshits never knew about fandoms these days or conventions, you schmucks. Space 1999 was one of those. It still is one of those. May have been made in Britain, but that was okay because some of the stuff that came out in Britain was pretty damn cool. We saw pieces of it or bits of series out here in the Southland in California. And we had small growing pockets of fandom happening. Now, without the technology we have right now, it was slow going back then. Mail, maybe phone calls, but we had slow gathering of fans. And if the information got put into periodical magazines, they could keep track of stuff. But it was still cool to go to the conventions and see some stars coming in there that you didn't know about, but you get to listen to them, or listen to the panels, or collect the merchandise. That's what conventions are all about, right? Sharing ideas with the fans of a show, of a television movie, of a series. Picked on a bionic woman in the $6 million Man. And then I heard so much Cold War claptrap coming out of this thing. This is dark, and this means about imperialism, and this means about government control, mechanizations. Oh my God, we gotta panic about the damn thing. And I remember watching the shows because they were just action shows, and you got entertained and you got brainwashed. Well, you're just like, yeah, Steve Austin, Jamie Summers, wow. Relationship issues. If the kids didn't know anything about relationship issues, they were trying to watch it, but all they saw was the action. Now, if they were going for the political content, yes, it was during the Cold War. You had these mad scientists out there in different countries who probably wanted to rattle everybody else's cage. And therefore, you'd send the bionic couple out there in their own shows to show what American value is at the time. Or if you wanted to see the British value about what political satire was. Lake 7, and this was dark, and this was moody, and this was, and I'm hearing the AI drill on. I'm like, oh my God, shut up already. There must have been 20 or 30-year-olds didn't know their ass was hot rock. The shows were, yeah, they're dark and moody, and they're adventuresome, and us older farts remember them. Because remember the cheesiness of it. There are certain aspects about the UFO. Let's see. Shadow control. How cheesy it was. Special effects were cheesy. Acting was cheesy, but that was alright. And then if you're an old fart like me, you remember all the women. But then again, they showed sex appeal in the thing. It wasn't stripping of identity. You had to follow a concept which an underground organization has to do with things to protect the earth, and sometimes sacrifice is made, and it sucks. And they're going to show you what the humanity of it is. How much we're willing to sacrifice to protect everybody else. And sometimes families and friends and loved ones to get sacrificed for the greater good. Nobody ever liked hearing that one. For the greater good, you must sacrifice. It's like if you happen to deal with the Star Trek phenomena. You always hear the Vulcan things in there somewhere saying, actually, in the movies they came out with it. Good of the many outweighs the need. Actually, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, or the one. And sometimes needs of the one outweighs the needs of the many because we're selfish. But we value that one more than the many. At least to us anyway. Shows you humanity, Star Trek 1. But in the British series, it's sacrifice, 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 right? That's what they kept saying. So when you had a movie, actually when you had the television show of Space 1999, sacrifice was all basically survival. But you notice every so often they'd kill people left and right. So what was about 200 or 300 people, came out maybe about less than 100 in 2 years, 2 seasons. But the reviewers never mentioned about year 2 because everyone wanted to forget about year 2. Just remember year 1 of Space 1999. Yes, the moon got blasted out of Earth's orbit. Man and its corporate greed or something like that. Or its stupidity in handling nuclear waste and putting it on the moon to think it's safe. But in that case, you put a colony, about 300 or so. Try to be self-sustaining. They can make their own moon. They can make their own, create the base that makes it sustainable. But it's really not self-sustaining enough. Yeah, you did have nuclear power. I mean, back in the 70s, we had nuclear power all over the damn place, didn't we? We started to have problems with the damn thing. Well, we also showed how nuclear power can be destructive, but also necessary. In the moon, it was an accident because of bureaucracy or whatever reason you say it. We stored nuclear waste, and it went through kind of a change, blew the moon out of Earth's orbit, screwed over Earth. You want to find out who does the blame on that one? But then they didn't focus what was happening on Earth all the time. It was always about the moon because they got blasted out of space. And they eventually was out in space. But they should have said something about the Earth. What the hell happened to the Earth? So it took year 2 to come up with a reason what happened to Earth. Oh, we had these technological wonders here, but then geology keeps screwing us over. Okay, well, at least we know what the hell happened to Earth. And the moon became had an outlying colony of humanity struggling for survival on both planets, both the moon and Earth. So that was something. Lake 7 was a typical rebellion show against the big megalomania government thing going on out there. Okay, we got it. And I lived long enough to see a lot of people being fans of the show, both in America and abroad. But it wasn't American made, it was British made. And yes, we did love our British television. We liked it so much that we got into Gallifrey, a wandering Gallifrey scientist, a madman in a blue box. Mutates, generates, regenerates. How many versions we got of this guy already? 12, 15? Originally it was signed up for maybe 12 or 13, but after that, onwards. And time in the universe was full of the wonder, dangers, excitement, adventures. That's how they wrote it. But every time I kept hearing these reviewers of this, it just drives me crazy how dark and sinister things were, and controlling and manipulative, and the government's out to get you. No, we watched the shows because we knew that we needed the escapism from reality. You compare it to regular history that we had. Vietnam War in the 60s. We had the imperialist expansion shit going on. We had Cold War going through it. We didn't like people dying in another country, so we protested for various reasons. Popularity dropped tremendously. And then we had the Cold War after that. Well, we had a little isolated terrorist incidents happening. We also had other countries being invaded by other countries in the 80s or the 90s. Organizations struggling to keep their borders protected, struggling with each other, and having organizations trying not to fight, trying to negotiate so we can have a peace, or at least somewhat of a semblance of peace. But you would think every time I keep listening to these damn AI channels, when they're trying to do the reviews, how dark and sinister everything else was. I'm like, give me a fucking break. You use the ships for escapism. Star Lost. Okay. Good one. Maybe the people weren't ready for this kind of thing. I mean, who was? Who was ready for outstanding or outlandish themes and topics to do? Viewers have their own appetites. It's a ratings thing. It's something that television has to deal with. It's a gamble. If the writing was good and it caught on, you'd get some fans. Maybe you'll get reruns. Maybe you get a legacy over decades, if you're lucky enough. If not, it's a hit and miss shit. That's what entertainment is, hit and miss. They like it, they like it. They don't, they don't. But you're going to be denigrating people, saying it's dark and mysterious and it's political extreme. It's and I'm hearing this all the damn time. The zeros and ones of YouTube and Google are picking this shit out and keep repeating this stuff over and over again, spewing it out. It's bad enough when I start searching YouTube for stuff regarding how to wrap my damn foot. And I'm getting more and more of that. Or if I happen to start talking about, dare I say the masshole's name, and everybody else associated with it, I get more and more videos of the damn shit. I put a like and a comment, and guess what? I'm stuck for it. The traps that we have to fall through when it comes down for online. Anyway, how's your navigation through it going so far? That being said.